I thought I had done everything right. 7 years of marriage, a mortgage we paid together, weekend brunches at that little diner on 5th Street, where Sarah always ordered blueberry pancakes. I worked double shifts at the manufacturing plant so she could finish her nursing degree. I believed we were building something solid, something that would last. Then one Tuesday evening in March, she sat me down at our kitchen table and told me she was leaving because she had never felt real love with me. She said she needed to give herself a chance at something true. 3 months later, she married Kevin. And now, 2 years after that, she is asking me to help pay for his kids. Before I get into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you have ever felt blindsided by someone you trusted, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to hear how this whole mess played out, because what came next shocked even me. Let me take you back to where it all started. Sarah and I met when I was 25 and she was 23. It was at a local charity event in Portland, Oregon, one of those community fundraisers where everyone brings casseroles and bids on donated items. She was volunteering at the registration table, and I was there because my buddy dragged me along. She had this smile that made the whole room feel warmer. We started talking about nothing important, just small observations about the people around us, and by the end of the night I had her number. We dated for 2 years before getting married. Everything felt natural. She would tell me I was the best man she had ever met, that I made her feel safe and cared for. I worked at an electronics manufacturing plant on the edge of town, running quality control on the assembly line. The pay was decent, and when Sarah decided to go back to school for her nursing degree, I picked up night shifts to cover the extra expenses. I did not mind. I thought we were investing in our future together. We bought a small house in the suburbs, nothing fancy, but it was ours. On weekends, we would drive out to the Columbia River Gorge and hike the trails. She loved taking pictures of the waterfalls, and I loved watching her get excited about the views. We talked about having kids someday, maybe getting a dog first to practice being responsible for another life. I thought we were on the same page about everything. But looking back now, I can see the cracks forming even before I noticed them. About 6 months before she left, Sarah started working at St. Mary Hospital. That is where she met Kevin. He was a radiology technician divorced with 2 kids. At first, she mentioned him casually, the way you mention any coworker. But then she started coming home later. She said the shifts were running long, that the hospital was understaffed. I believed her because why would I not? We had been together for 7 years. She stopped cooking dinner with me. We used to make meals together on Sunday nights, prep for the week ahead, listen to music, and talk about our days. That stopped. She would eat before coming home or say she was not hungry. When I asked about her day, her answers got shorter. One night I saw her texting and smiling in a way I had not seen in months. When I asked who it was, she said it was just a coworker. I let it go. I told myself I was being paranoid. I tried harder. I bought flowers, made dinner reservations at the Italian place she loved, even suggested we take a weekend trip to the coast. She said she was too tired, too busy, too stressed. Every attempt I made seemed to push her further away. I felt like I was chasing someone who was already gone, but I did not want to admit it. Then came that Tuesday in March. I remember every detail. I got home from my shift around 6 in the evening. Sarah was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee in her hands. She looked nervous. I asked if everything was okay, and she said we needed to talk. Those words made my stomach drop. Nothing good ever follows that phrase. We sat across from each other at the table we had picked out together at a thrift store 3 years earlier. She would not look at me directly. She kept staring at her coffee cup, turning it in small circles on the wood. Then she said it. "I have never felt real love with you, Charles. You are a good man, but I need more than good. I need to feel alive." I did not understand at first. I asked her what she meant. She told me she had feelings for someone else. She did not say Kevin's name right away, but I knew. She said she needed a chance at real love before it was too late, that she had spent too long settling for something comfortable when she wanted something that made her heart race. I asked about the 7 years we had spent together, about the life we had built. She looked at me then, finally, and said, "Those 7 years taught me what I do not want." That hurt more than anything else she could have said. It was not just that she was leaving. It was that everything I thought we had meant nothing to her. She packed her things over the next week. I watched her box up her books, her clothes, the little decorations she had scattered around the house. Each item she took felt like she was erasing proof that we had ever existed together. After she left, the house felt enormous and empty at the same time. Her reading chair sat in the corner of the living room, and I could not bring myself to move it. The kitchen still had her coffee mug in the cabinet, the one with the chipped handle she refused to throw away. I found one of her hair ties under the bathroom sink and just held it for a while, wondering how something so small could make me feel so hollowed out. My friends and family tried to help. They said I deserved better, that Sarah did not know what she was throwing away, all the usual things people say, but none of it made me feel less like a failure. I kept asking myself what I had done wrong. Was I not interesting enough? Not exciting enough? Had I been so focused on being reliable that I forgot to be anything else I found out about Kevin through mutual friends, and honestly through social media? I did not go looking for information, but it found me anyway. 3 months after Sarah moved out, she married him. 3 months. I was not invited, obviously, but I saw the photos online. She looked happy, in a way I did not recognize. Radiant. Like she had been holding her breath for years and finally exhaled. That hurt worse than the breakup itself. Kevin had 2 kids from his previous marriage. A little girl named Lily, who was 8, and a boy named Jake, who was 6. His ex-wife had apparently left and was not involved in their lives. I learned all this in bits and pieces, information I did not ask for, but could not avoid. I tried not to think about Sarah playing stepmother to someone else's children when we had talked about having our own someday. 2 years passed. I kept working at the plant, got promoted to shift supervisor, which came with better pay and slightly better hours. I started going to the gym, not because I was trying to transform myself, but because I needed something to do with all the anger and sadness I was carrying around. I went out with friends, more accepted, a few blind dates that went nowhere. I sold the house because living there alone felt like living in a museum of my own failure. I moved into a small apartment downtown, closer to work, with big windows and none of the memories. I thought I had moved on. I did not think about Sarah every day anymore. When I did think about her, it did not feel like a knife in the chest, more like a dull ache I had gotten used to. I assumed the chapter of my life was over, that whatever we had was buried and done. Then, on a Friday morning in September, my phone buzzed with a message. I was drinking coffee, getting ready for my shift, not expecting anything unusual. The message was from Sarah. I stared at her name on my screen for a solid minute before I opened it. "Hi, Charles. I know this is unexpected. Can we talk? It is important, please." My first instinct was to delete it. My second was to ask, what could possibly be important enough to break 2 years of silence? But curiosity got the better of me. I replied and asked what she wanted to talk about. She said it would be better to do it in person. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a coffee shop halfway between our places, somewhere neutral that held no memories for either of us. I showed up early because I hate being late, and also because I needed a few minutes to prepare myself. I had no idea what to expect. Part of me wondered if she wanted to apologize, to tell me she had made a mistake. Another part wondered if something bad had happened and she needed help. I sat at a table near the window, watching cars pass by, trying to calm the knot of nerves in my stomach. Sarah walked in 10 minutes later. She looked different, older, more tired. There were dark circles under her eyes that makeup could not quite hide. She had cut her hair shorter, and she was wearing scrubs like she had come straight from a shift. We greeted each other awkwardly, the way you do with someone you used to know, intimately, but now feel like a stranger. She thanked me for agreeing to meet. I told her it was fine, even though I was not sure it was. We made small talk for the first few minutes. How was work? Fine. How was life? Fine. It felt like we were actors reading lines neither of us believed. Then she took a deep breath and said she needed to tell me something. She started by saying that life with Kevin was not as easy as she had expected. I did not say anything, I just let her talk. She told me Kevin had 2 kids, which I already knew. She said his ex-wife was not in the picture, that she had disappeared after the divorce and contributed nothing to raising the children. Kevin worked as a radiology tech, and while the job was stable, it did not pay much. They were struggling financially. Sarah had to pick up extra shifts at the hospital to cover basic expenses. The kids needed things: school supplies, clothes, activities. Lily needed braces. Jake needed glasses. The costs kept piling up. I listened, still not sure where this was going. Then she said the thing that made my brain short-circuit. I was wondering if you could help us out financially, just until we get back on our feet. You always made good money at the plant, and I know you got a promotion. Maybe you could help with the kids' expenses, just for a few months. I sat there completely, still trying to process what I had just heard. She wanted me to give her money. Not for her, but for the children of the man she left me for. The man she married 3 months after walking out of our 7-year marriage. I must have looked as stunned as I felt, because she kept talking, trying to justify it. I know it is a lot to ask, but you always said you cared about me. This would really help us. The kids did not ask for any of this. I finally found my voice. You left me for real love, and now you want me to pay for his kids. She looked uncomfortable, shifting in her seat. She said it was just a temporary situation, that they would pay me back once things got better. She said she did not have anyone else to ask. Her parents were retired and living on a fixed income. Kevin's family was not supportive. I was the only person she could think of who might help. I could not believe what I was hearing. Every emotion I thought I had dealt with came rushing back. The hurt, the anger, the sense of betrayal. All those nights I worked double shifts so she could go to nursing school. All the times I put her dreams ahead of my own. And she had told me I was not enough, that I did not make her feel alive, that 7 years with me taught her what she did not want. And now she was sitting here, asking me to fund the life she chose instead of me. I thought about those kids, Lily and Jake. They were innocent in all this, but they were not my responsibility. They were Kevin's children. Sarah chose Kevin. She chose that life. I had already given her 7 years of support. I worked nights. I sacrificed. I loved her the best way I knew how, and it was not enough for her. So why would I keep giving? I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw someone I did not recognize anymore. Maybe I never really knew her at all. She was waiting for my answer. Her eyes, pleading, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup she had not touched. For a moment, a tiny moment, I felt sorry for her. Then I remembered that she made her choice, and choices have consequences. I looked Sarah straight in the eyes and said, "No, Sarah, I will not be doing that." She looked genuinely shocked. Her mouth opened slightly, like she could not believe I had refused. "But Charles, these are just kids. They did not ask for any of this." "You are right," I said. "They did not. But they are not my responsibility. They are Kevin's children. You chose Kevin. You chose that life. I supported you for 7 years. I worked nights so you could build your career. And you left me because I was not enough. I will not fund the life you chose over me." Her eyes started to water. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "I thought you were better than this." That almost made me laugh. I am exactly who I have always been, a good man. But being good does not mean being a doormat. You made your decision. Now you have to live with it. I stood up, pulled out my wallet, and put a $10 bill on the table to cover my coffee. Then I walked out. My hands were shaking as I got into my car. I sat there for a few minutes, gripping the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. Part of me could not believe I had actually said no. For so long I had been the person who said yes, who helped, who sacrificed. But this time I could not do it. I would not do it. Driving home, I felt something strange. Not satisfaction exactly, but a kind of release. For 2 years I had wondered if I had been the problem, if I had failed somehow as a husband. But that conversation showed me the truth. Sarah had made her choice, and she had to live with the consequences. I was not responsible for fixing her life. I was not her backup plan. I was not her safety net. I was done. Over the next few days, Sarah sent me several messages. At first, she tried to be persuasive. Please, reconsider. We really need help. Then she played the emotional card. I know I hurt you, but this is about innocent children. When I did not respond to any of it, her tone changed. She got angry. I cannot believe you are this selfish. I guess I was right to leave you. I did not reply to a single message. After the fifth one, I blocked her number. I was done engaging. A mutual friend reached out a week later and told me Sarah had been complaining to anyone who would listen. She was telling people I was heartless and selfish, that I refused to help children in need. But most of our friends saw through it. They told me she had nerve asking me for anything after what she did. 2 weeks after the coffee shop meeting, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. It was Kevin. My first instinct was to hang up, but he spoke quickly. Look, man, I heard what Sarah asked you. That was out of line. I want you to know I had no part in that. My kids are my responsibility, not yours. I am sorry she put you in that position. I was surprised. I had expected him to be defensive or angry, but he sounded genuine. I told him I appreciated the call. He continued, For what it is worth, I think Sarah realized she made a mistake. Not about leaving you, but about how she expected you to still be there for her, after everything. That was wrong. We talked for a few more minutes. It was civil, almost respectful. When we hung up, I realized something. Kevin was not the villain in this story. He was just a guy trying to raise his kids and deal with the mess life had handed him. Sarah was the one who had burned bridges and expected them to still hold her weight. After that, something shifted in me. I felt lighter. I started investing more time in myself. I signed up for an advanced technical certification program at the community college. It would help me move up even further at the plant. I also joined a local hiking club. I had always loved the outdoors, but Sarah and I used to do that together, and after she left, I stopped. It felt like reclaiming something that had been taken from me. At one of the weekend hikes, I met a woman named Amanda. She was an elementary school teacher, warm and easygoing, with a laugh that made everyone around her smile. We started talking after the hike, just casual conversation about the trail and the weather. She mentioned she was new to the area and did not know many people yet. I suggested she join the group again the following weekend. She did. We started talking more. Then we started getting coffee after hikes. Then we went to dinner. It was not rushed or intense. It was comfortable in the best way. Amanda did not need me to be anything other than who I was. She had her own career, her own life, her own goals. She appreciated what I brought to the table, but she did not expect me to sacrifice everything for her. It was balanced in a way my relationship with Sarah never had been. 8 months later, Amanda and I were officially together. I got promoted to production manager at the plant, which came with a significant raise. I bought a condo with a view of the Willamette River. My life was stable, peaceful, and genuinely happy. I did not think about Sarah often anymore. When I did, it was without the pain or anger that used to come with her memory. She was just a chapter in my past, one that taught me important lessons but no longer defined me. A year after that coffee shop meeting, I was sitting on my balcony with Amanda watching the sun set over the river. She asked me about Sarah, not out of jealousy, but out of genuine curiosity. I told her the whole story from the 7 years of marriage to the request for money. Amanda listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "I am glad you stood up for yourself." That took real strength. Her words hit me harder than I expected. For so long I had thought being a good man meant always giving, always sacrificing, always being there for people even when they did not appreciate it. But standing up for myself, setting boundaries, saying no when something was wrong, that took strength too. Maybe more strength than I had ever needed before. I realized that refusing Sarah was not about being cruel or selfish. It was about self-respect. I had spent 7 years being the man Sarah wanted me to be, working nights, so she could pursue her dreams, putting her needs ahead of mine. But good does not mean doormat. Good does not mean letting people take advantage of you. Good means knowing your worth and not letting anyone convince you otherwise. I thought about all the people out there who have been in similar situations. People who get left behind and then get asked to still be there. People who get told they are not enough and then get expected to prove they are by giving even more. That is not love. That is manipulation. And it is okay to walk away from it. It is okay to say no. It is okay to put yourself first when someone else has already shown you that you are not their priority. Sarah made her choice. She chose Kevin. She chose his kids. She chose a life that she thought would make her feel more alive. Those were her decisions, and they came with consequences. I was not responsible for cushioning those consequences. I was not her backup plan. I was not obligated to fund her happiness, especially after she had walked away from mine. I learned something important through all of this. Boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary. Saying no does not make you a bad person. It makes you someone who values themselves. I spent too long thinking I had to earn love by being endlessly available, endlessly giving. But real love, the kind that lasts, does not require you to lose yourself. It requires mutual respect, balance, and appreciation. Amanda taught me that. She never asked me to be anything other than myself. She valued my time, my energy, my contributions. She gave as much as she took. That is what partnership is supposed to look like. Not one person sacrificing everything while the other takes it for granted. I also learned that healing is not linear. For a long time after Sarah left, I blamed myself. I thought if I had been more exciting, more spontaneous, more something, she would have stayed. But the truth is, no amount of changing myself would have made her happy. She was looking for something I could not give her because she did not even know what she was looking for. That was not my failure. That was hers. Walking away from her request for money was one of the hardest things I ever did. Part of me, the part that still remembered loving her, wanted to help. But the bigger part, the part that had grown and learned, knew that helping her would only hurt me. It would tell her that she could keep coming back, keep asking, keep expecting me to be there no matter how she treated me. And I deserved better than that. I think about those kids sometimes, Lily and Jake. I hope they are okay. I hope Kevin is doing his best for them. But they are not my responsibility, and I do not feel guilty for that. Everyone has to deal with the consequences of the choices they make. Sarah chose Kevin. She chose his life, his kids, his struggles. That was her decision, and she has to live with it. I am not obligated to make her life easier just because she asked. One afternoon, Amanda and I were walking along the riverfront. It was one of those perfect Oregon days, cool breeze, clear sky, everything feeling right. She looked over at me and said, "You seem really at peace now." I thought about it for a moment and realized she was right. I was at peace, not because everything in my life was perfect, but because I had learned to value myself. I had learned that my worth was not tied to how much I could give to someone else. It was tied to how I treated myself. I used to be the guy who worked night shifts so someone else could chase their dreams. Now I am the guy who chases his own dreams while supporting someone who does the same for me. That is the difference. That is growth. That is knowing your value and refusing to settle for less than you deserve. Sarah taught me a lesson, just not the one she intended. She taught me that I am worth more than being someone's backup plan. I am worth more than being a convenient resource when things get tough. I am worth a partner who sees my value and appreciates it every single day. And I found that in Amanda. Looking back now, I can see the full arc of my journey, from a man who put everyone else first to a man who knows his own worth, from someone who thought love meant endless sacrifice to someone who understands that real love is mutual respect and balance, from a person who blamed himself for someone else's unhappiness to a person who knows that everyone is responsible for their own choices. If there is anything I want people to take away from my story, it is this: you do not owe anyone continuous sacrifice, especially people who have already shown you that you are not their priority. It is okay to say no. It is okay to walk away. It is okay to protect yourself. That is not selfish. That is self-respect. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is refuse to let someone keep hurting you. So here I am 2 years later, living in a condo with a view of the river, in a relationship with someone who values me, doing work that challenges me, and finally at peace with the man I have become. Sarah is part of my past, but she does not define my future. I do. And that is exactly how it should be. Let me ask you something, and I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. When do you know it is time to stop giving and start protecting yourself? Have you ever been in a situation where someone asked too much of you after they had already walked away? How did you handle it? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and I would love to hear your story. If this story resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps more people find this video and maybe help someone else who is going through something similar. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because I share more stories like this, real experiences from real people, navigating the messy parts of life, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who is struggling with boundaries. Someone who keeps giving to people who do not appreciate it. Someone who needs permission to put themselves first. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was not easy to hear in some parts, and it definitely was not easy to live through. But I am grateful for where I ended up. I hope wherever you are in your journey, you find the strength to value yourself the way you deserve to be valued. Take care of yourself. You are worth it.